Good evening everyone, my name is Mayank Singh and in this video I'm going to talk about ISRO and how it has accomplished a lot of feats and how has it gotten from a lot of struggle and hard work to how is it now, and we are also going to talk about NASA in the middle and how was it competing at that times when ISRO had just started and NASA was also at its start, and they were both like competing against each other. But ISRO was not that big of an agency back then. So let's start. So ISRO. Before ISRO, let's talk about NASA. Post World War II, India had a couple of years after its independence, and there was a big competition between the US and the Soviet Union. There were these two competing against their military strength, nuclear powers. So it was now down to the person who will get to space first or launches the first satellite as a win. So Soviet Union and both USA were into it, but Soviet Union was first as they released the Sputnik satellite, which was the first satellite, a man-made satellite ever released. So, but eventually, US also caught up to it. India got motivated, and one of the man who got motivated was Vikram Sarabhai, who is now the founder of ISRO. It was not known as ISRO before. It started as Indian Committee of Space Research, and they started it like that. And they borrowed things from the US as well and the Soviet Union while they were competing against each other. US borrowed India borrowed satellites from the US and then launched it, and we got a lot of observation in how to make their own satellites, and then it helped out as after a lot of struggle in 1975 India's first satellite Aryabhat was launched and was named after Aryabhat, the mathematician who invented zero. So after Aryabhat, and this launcher that we used was from the Soviet Union, they helped us. So we were getting help from both sides, the US and the Soviet. Yeah. And while they were competing against each other, India was borrowing things from both of them, and later on even built its own satellite launcher. So it became independent and didn't need any country's help to launch any satellites or help them any missions. Now they were free and could do whatever they wanted to. So with this, in 2008, India got their first Chandrayaan mission, and it was a success. After a couple of failed attempts, we still managed to get it through, and Chandrayaan was a success. Then later in 2013, India managed to pull off another big feat in its first attempt. Yeah, this is a world record. In its first attempt, India managed to get the satellite in Mars's orbit, which was never done before by any other country, and only a couple of countries has done this before. Same like landing on moon, Chandrayaan, India did it in 2008, but while the US did it in 1969 with the first person being Neil Armstrong, who set the first steps on the moon, and later no one has gone there ever. Not satellites, humans. So yeah, in back to India. India, after getting into Mangalyaan, now became recognized, got a lot of fame and recognition from others as a big organization who did landing on moon and got into Mars's orbit in its first attempt, creating several world records, even launching a lot of satellites. And satellites, speaking of satellites, satellites were necessary for India because it could inform us about a lot of things, like even communication could help, even communication and other stuff which was helpful, like weathers, about what weather is about to come, like rain, storm, and etc. etc. So satellites were useful for India. After its launch, India became independent and for its space and launched several satellites. In this period, they changed their name to ISRO as well, which is Indian Space Research Organization, and this was really big for India as they continued on to do other things like Chandrayaan 2 and Chandrayaan 3. Chandrayaan mission only costed about $74 million, while some movies are more expensive than that, like movie named Martian, which was released back in 2015, had a budget of $101 million. So you see, it was more expensive than the entire Chandrayaan mission. Then the Chandrayaan mission done by India, which only costed about $74 million, as NASA spends about $21.4 billion estimate per year on their organization, and India only spends about $1.6 billion per year in their organization, and still manage to accomplish such feats of getting in the moon, getting on the moon, getting their satellites on the moon through several techniques and all. And this is where ISRO stands till now. Really, one of the top most space organizations ever considered in the world. NASA is currently at its peak, and they are still number one, but ISRO has made the list of top 6 in all of space organizations, and is now has a lot of technology and budget that we could use in further more missions. So yeah, that's it. I'll see you in my next video. Till then, take care and bye bye.